Hey guys, welcome back to Vlhadus Gaming. I'm your boy Vlhadus, and today in this video, I probably should have done this myself, but we had our boy Narc, of course, he's one of the famous Ashes of Creation YouTubers, make a video on my stream, which I had our boy Concordian Slurp, who is one of the devs at Intrepid, who specifically is in the artisan team for what he does there. So he was in my chat, and during the live reaction I was doing for the artisan preview, answering my questions and my chat's questions on my Twitch stream. So if you're not following me on my Twitch, you better go do that, because you never know when you can actually talk to one of the devs and get one of your questions answered, you know what I mean? So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the entire time that Concordian Slurp was on my chat. And believe me, Narc did not go over all of the questions that were answered. So if you wanted to hear some things maybe about work orders or other things that you probably want to know about, I would definitely stay tuned and watch the entire thing. So I will see you guys on the next one. Hey guys, I'm going to do this just a little bit different. I know I said I was going to do the whole unedited thing on YouTube, but for one, I was not talking during the entire live stream, and it was really just the chat that was kind of going on. So I figured doing it this way might be a little bit more entertaining. I was actually kind of shocked that Slurp actually answered almost 16 questions from my chat and of course my own questions. So really awesome. My boy Corey, dude, thank you so much for coming into the chat and just hanging out with us when you can. I really appreciate it. And shout out to the entire artisan team that did an amazing job with this showcase and how they are evolving this profession, and all of the professions that we're going to be dealing with in such a great and meaningful way. The first thing I wanted to mention was Concordian Slurp did say, most of my designs are based off of Star Wars galaxies with improvements I feel we can make. Now, I love the fact that he's actually inspired, and I'm sure more from his team are inspired by the specific MMO, because Star Wars Galaxies has probably one of the most robust profession systems of any MMO, at least in my opinion. And that's actually really awesome that Ashes is going to be using that as a template, basically. He also mentioned that any profession gameplay layer will need to be its own live stream. Way too much info to throw in with everything else. That leads me to know that each profession, which there's 22 of them, are going to be so in depth. And again, this was just a 1 hour gameplay loop of making a singular weapon, going from the gathering side, processing side, and crafting side. So that's really insane. So let's go into the first question that, we asked. First question was from me, and I asked, what is the max level for professions right now? 300? I was sort of thinking, in line with World of Warcraft. Again, I have a WoW brain here. So I just kind of wanted to know what the max level was of these professions for Ashes of Creation. And he answered 50, which is Grand Master tier, which again, awesome. Next question we asked was, how many bags can you equip for your professions? 3? Because right now we have your main inventory system, and then we have a separate tab for your gatherables, process stuff, all that. So I was thinking, okay, how many bags can we actually put in that slot or in that tab? And he basically went to go and answer right now 3 at the moment, but that is subject to change for sure. Now, for a little bit of feedback, and this is something I'm leaving in the forums post, is I think we need potentially an additional bag slot that is just for glint. I think glint being thrown into the other professions, it just may be very, very annoying. And because there are only 5 professions, that also kind of limits you in a sense to where, yes, you can do all 5, but you're going to be cramming all of the fish, all your hunting, all of your lumberjacking, your mining stuff all into these bags. So you kind of have to really pick and choose what bags you want, these 3 specific slots, and then kind of go from there, right? Next question that we asked was from Livyojima, and he said, can you equip more than 1 bag at the same profession? So can you have multiple lumberjacking bags, multiple mining bags? Which again, great question. And the answer was, yeah, you can do whatever you want with your bags. And I kind of like this approach, because if you really want to go all in into just one thing, you can do that to a very large extent. And this is something I really want them to kind of exacerbate a little bit with the talent system, but I'll kind of go into that a little bit later. Next question, again, this one was for me. I asked, are profession trainers the way you get more recipes to increase your profession level? The reason why I asked this question is because usually in most other MMOs, you have your trainer where in certain breakpoints, like you'll get more recipes at level 15, more at level 20, more at level 25. So what your basic game loop for your professions is to make a certain item up until you can't make it anymore or get any experience from it anymore, and then you make the next tiered item up until your next breakpoint. And I don't know if I particularly like that. I think, again, I kind of wanted it to feel a little bit more free-flowing, to where the trainer is there for an initial, like, hey, let me show you what I know, but I am not a master. Like, I'm a trainer, I train all these people, but I only train up to a certain extent, and then after that, you're kind of on your own. So that's sort of why I asked that question. And of course, Slurp's answer is, it's one way. Recipes will come from every item acquisition points possible. Mob drops, crafting, vendors, reputation rewards, everything. This answer is something I really wanted to hear, because I didn't want profession trainers to be the end-all be-all of how you level your professions and how you actually earn more recipes. I think they're there, as a beginning thing, and that's great. And I wouldn't even mind if you had to go back to them every once in a while to get like a profession, to go back every once in a while to get like a recipe every now and then. But I think they shouldn't be the bulk of where you get all these recipes personally. I think they should come from other resources. So yeah, thanks Slurp for answering that question. Next question was from Memat, and he asked, will you be able to max out a profession skill tree or be limited in the number of skill points? And again, Narc, I kind of agree with Narc on this one. I really feel like if you are, okay, let me just say it this way. I don't like this at all. I think if you are actually, let me just tell you what Concordian Slurp said. If you are a Grandmaster in that profession, you can max out the entire tree, but you can only Grandmaster 2 things. So basically that tells me that the talent tree is entirely useless. In most things, again, coming from my WoW brain, in our talent trees for our classes, you can't talent point into every profession, or into any points in your class tree. The reasoning why is because there's so many good points that it would be entirely overpowered, and the choices would feel very irrelevant in that sense. So I think what they should do is, if they should make a talent tree that is way more robust than what we saw. Again, I think what we saw was a very starter, very building blocks thing. Think back to when we first saw the character creator in Alpha 1, and then look at the character creator now. It's a completely different thing. So that's kind of how I treat the talent system for professions right now. But what I would say, if there's like 25 or 30 nodes available, then you should only give us 15 to 20 points to talent into. And these talent points for these professions should actually be robust in the sense of giving you options within your category, within your profession. So if you're an armor smith and you want to really specialize in making chest pieces, or into helmets or shoulders or whatever, or you could even group them into like other things, like, you specialize into chest and shoulders, and someone else is like boots and belts or whatever. You should be able to do that, because I want the end game for these Grandmasters to feel very different. So when you reach out to one Grandmaster of an armor smith, they have different specializations than someone else's Grandmaster armor smith. That makes it more unique. That makes you as the individual player feel like you're niching down and really digging deep in these professions in a very meaningful way, which, when someone does need a pair of boots, you're like, hey, I specialize in those things. I can make you a killer pair of boots, compared to another Grandmaster that can make okay boots, So that's the kind of thing I really want to see from this talent system per se. Wizzy McNasty asked a question, Grandmaster Carpenter to make furniture, correct? And he went on to say, Concordian said, furniture, weapons, siege stuff, ship stuff, the list goes on, which is a very, very good question. He also went on to say, every profession, or everyone's profession, makes something for every other profession. I love this. And I think this is why they got rid of shipbuilding as a profession itself. Because again, in Star Wars Galaxies, every profession feeds into another profession. There is no self-isolating profession where you can do everything within your own profession. You're going to need other professions to help you within your own profession. I love that approach. And it makes not only the profession system, but also the economy within that profession system flourish because of that. So I really love that question, and I definitely love the answer. Next question. This is from Livio Jima. He asked, wasn't Siege going to be its own skill? And Concordian Slurp said, not that I know of. That being said, though, I'm just talking about making stuff that you would use in Siege, like a battering ram or trebuchet. So again, I think they kind of knew that there was going to be certain professions on the old list of profession that we saw like back in like 2018 or whatever, and they kind of wanted to make other professions make stuff in a together kind of thing, right? Where you need an armor smith, a carpenter, and an arcane engineer to do one craft of something, right? Where you're gonna need these components or these finished crafts of something to make a bigger and larger thing, which again, I think is going to be really, really cool. Next question was from myself. Since you can dabble in all the gathering professions, can you lock your level to 1 so you can't accidentally level if you want to stay a novice? The reason why I asked this question is because and this is something else that I ask later on, each breakpoint is going to be at level 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. Okay. So we know there's 50 levels to the professions. So at level 10, you have to get your certification quest completed. If you never complete that certification quest, then you're basically stuck at level 10. So you will never be able to go to level 11. You'll be maxed out on level 10 until you complete your certification quest. Once you complete that quest, then you'll hit level 11 and be able to go on. So for me, the reason why I asked this question is because if you just want to stay level 10, you can. You know what I mean? I was just kind of afraid that the system was going to kind of fault you into leveling or not being able, or just accidentally leveling up without wanting to, kind of thing. But the certification system kind of stops that, which again, I really love. Next question was for myself. I basically asked the question, what are the rarity names? And this is basically off of like the rarities off of your gear, your weapons and stuff like that. And he went on to answer common, uncommon, rare, heroic, epic, legendary, and artifact. He went on to say that artifacts are like 1 per server type of things. So this kind of means to me that artifacts are the new legendary. So I think there are going to be legendaries that are also kind of like 10 per server, 15 per server, because we do know that there are going to be limited recipes, meaning you can learn a recipe that has charges on them and they could have 5 charges, 10 charges. But once you make that amount of once you hit like 10 charges, the recipe literally deletes off of your recipe book and you can't make that item until you go and earn that recipe again. And I think that's going to be again for more of the higher tier items, maybe like your epics, maybe even legendary stuff. So we'll have to wait and see what that's going to be like. This one's from Leviojima. He asks, can you use higher tier tools without higher qualifications? So this is actually an interesting question. And let me just go ahead and give what Slurp said. He said, no, you have to be certified to use the tool. And I think this is a great thing personally. I think if you aren't at the certification level, like if you want to be a level 10 novice, you shouldn't be able to use a higher tier tool because you're not at that level or that certification to use that tool. So again, I am totally fine with that particular question and the answer. Next question is from myself. I asked, will better bags for professions require a higher profession level to equip? The reason why I asked is because this is something with the icons that we keep seeing, is that there isn't a level associated with anything. Now that's, if you look at the weapon that someone made or the weapon that Steven made or whatever, there's not like a required level or anything like that. So I was just thinking, okay, can you make an end game bag and equip it at level 1? Can you make that sword that we saw on stream and equip it at level 1? Apparently you're not going to be able to. So this was the question that he asked, and he says yes. And then he went on to say, all will be based on your certification level. So when it comes to the kinds of bags you're going to be able to equip, they are going to require you to be at an apprentice, to be at a master. So if you aren't master of that certification for the bag you want to equip, then you can't equip that particular bag. So you can't, if you want to kind of min-max the system, if you're a novice, then you only can really equip novice bags. So you're not gonna be able to equip a higher tier bag. Next one goes to myself. And this is a question that I kind of answered already. I asked, are the certification breakpoints at level 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50 for professions? Slurp went on to say, correct. Next question. This one's from Leviojima. He asked, can bags have abilities other than larger space? This was an interesting question. Concordia and Slurp went on to say, yes, they will have other stats on them. I'm very curious as to what other stats or what other things these bags are going to have them like as a stat, right? So we know, okay, you're going to have larger stack portions, but I also remember Steven saying that bags could have like a faster gathering time for looting mobs, or if you are dead and someone else is looting your stuff, then it'll be a higher cast time for them because of the bag that you have associated with it. I think that's kind of like what he means, and I'm really curious to see exactly all of the different things that bags are going to have for not only PvE ramifications, but also PvP ramifications as well. Next question we asked, this one's from Wizzy McNasty. He says, can your profession out-level your character level? Now, this was an interesting answer. He went on to say, yes, it can. And then he said, you can also level your character level through just doing artisanship stuff. Now, I'm very curious as to like how this is going to be minimized in a sense, because I know there's a lot of people that want to stay at a lower character level and get up as high as they can with artisanship level, right? So I wonder if it's going, if you're not going to, you know, basically be a level 1 character and then end up being a level 50 grandmaster in something. Like, I don't think that's going to be the case, because when you do stuff in your professions, not only do you get profession experience, but you get character experience. So, you know, what does that look like per se? Like, what is, I guess, the minimum character level that you can be at the maximum grandmaster level for your professions? I think that's what people kind of really wanted to hear. This question, and this one is from myself. I asked, will there be a work order system to find crafters and processors in Node? Surprising answer, yes. Now, coming from WoW Dragonflight recently, I think the work order system is an amazing thing, and I definitely know other MMOs do this too. However, I'm really curious as to like, you know, with this work order system, you know, if it's going to work like on a guild level. If I log into the game and I'm like, hey, I can go to the work order system and go and make a work order for my guild to craft this weapon potentially, or to craft my armor. But if no one in my guild has it, can I put in a node work order for anybody in my node, or any citizen that is, you know, any kind of citizen that I'm a part of in my node that can make this certain armor or weapon? But I think if they are going to have a work order system, that is an entirely great thing and really great to hear. Now, will that be regionalized or will that be global? If I had a guess, it'd probably be more regionalized towards your node only. But I think still great thing that it's going to be in the game. Next question, we have Sneckers, and he says, wait, so idea is that either through additional resources during crafting or enchanting the item, end effect will be the same, or there will be a meta that is better to put resources in crafting rather than enchanting it. And then Slurp went on to say, there is a combination of systems that take an item to its max potential. Players will need to contribute in a certain number of these systems to reach max. Some of the systems are an either or situation. He also went on to say you have to be the certification level of the recipe to learn it. You know, going back to Sticker's question, I'm guessing that he kind of means whenever Steven was crafting the weapon, if you're going to be able to add anything additional through the crafting itself, or through enchanting, or even through jewel cutting. Like, we haven't kind of seen the ways as to like how you're going to be able to power an item once it's finished crafted, right? Like in its finished state, like what can we do to power up this item? Because we do know, of course, we can add additional regens to make the item, you know, a higher rarity, more stats or whatever, which is entirely great. The one bit of feedback that I would say is there is a crap ton of stats in Ashes of Creation. If you go to the wiki page and look in the stats, there's a lot of them. I think as a crafter, the more agency we can have, the better. I don't want randomized, you know, stats in a sense. I want you to be able to be like, hey, you need these stats on your gear, I can put that on for you. I think if you're a grandmaster in something and you're still relying off of RNG for creating a craft, I think that's just kind of terrible in my opinion. That was kind of all the questions that he went through. Again, you know, he says, all right, friends, got to get back to the grind. Much love, and please give us your feedback. We need it. I definitely implore you to head to the forums if you are interested in any, or giving Intrepid any feedback regarding this artisanship preview, because heck, I'm doing it as much as I can because I really want this system to flourish as much as possible. And if you're in the spot testing, I absolutely hate you and stop watching my channel. Unsubscribe, please. No, I'm just joking. But again, I really hope we're on the verge of Alpha 2. I really feel like Q1, potentially Q2 is way more in the ballpark now. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more content, and I will see you guys on the next one. Later, guys.